Lesson 8-5, percents and decimals, and in this lesson you learn to express percents as decimals and vice versa. And when are you ever going to use this? Knowing how to express percent as a decimal can help you determine the amount of sales tax paid on a dollar. Okay, so 5 years after it opened, theme park became France's top tourist attraction. The graph shows where 11.7 million visitors came from. What part of the visitors came from Italy? So we will solve this in example number 3. And let's take a look at this circle graph for now. So theme park visitors, okay, from France, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg, 20%, okay, from France, 41%, Switzerland, 2%, Spain, 3%, Italy, 3%, others 6%, Britain 10%, and Germany 15%. Okay, so notice that the sections of the graph are labeled as percents. In 8.4, you learn how to express percents as fractions. Percents can also be written as decimals. To express a percent as a decimal, follow these steps. So these are the 2 steps to express a percent as a decimal. First step, rewrite the percent as a fraction with a denominator of 100. And then second step, express the fraction as a decimal. Okay? And let's look at this one. Express each percent as a decimal, 65%. So we want to write 65% as a fraction with a denominator of 100, 65 over 100. And then we simply divide 65 by 100, which is 0.65. Basically, when you are dividing by 100, when dividing by 100, let me write this down, okay? When dividing, okay, a number by 100, okay, it is the same as moving the decimal place or the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. Okay? So let's use that little shortcut. 65% is the same as 0.65. Remember, write out the number, which is 65. And then, in any whole number, the decimal is always at the end. So if you have 65, it says here, when you divide by 100, it is the same as moving the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. So you get that decimal point and you simply move it 2 spaces to the left. Okay, and that's the reason why you have 0.65. Okay, so let's take a look at 0.5%. 0.5% as a fraction will be 0.5 over 100. Okay, sorry, 0.5 over 100. Okay, and then we divide that by 100. Okay, so 0.5 over 100 is the same as 5 over 1000. Why? Because you simply multiply it by 10 over 10, which is 1, which is not does not change the fraction, which is 5 over 1000. 5 over 1000 is nothing more than 0.005. Okay, and if we use the shortcut that I mentioned, okay, and we write 0.5 right here, and it says there on top, it is the same as moving the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. You simply move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left, 1, 2, and that's your new decimal point, and you simply fill in the zeros in between. Okay, the decimal point and the number, and that's the reason why you get 0.005. It's a lot simpler than this particular method. Okay, let's take a look at example number 3. Example number 3, before, why is it down there? Let's find out if there's something on top. Nope, there's nothing on top. So example number 3. Refer to the beginning of the lesson. What part of the visitors came from Italy? Remember, the visitors came from Italy. Okay. The visitors that came from Italy is equivalent to 3%. Okay, so 3% of the visitors came from Italy. So first we copy 3% and we express this as a fraction with a denominator of 100. So that's 3 over 100. Okay, and then we divide 3 by 100, okay, which is 0.03 again, or we simply move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. Since it's a whole number, the decimal is always at the end of a whole number, and we move it 2 spaces to the left, 1, 2, that's the new decimal point, and that's the reason why you have 0.03. Okay, so the graph shows 0.03 of visitors came from Italy. Now let's do the that's now expressed as a decimal as a percent. Okay, and expressing as a decimal as a percent. Okay, again, very easy. First, express the decimal as a fraction, and then express the fraction as a percent. Okay, first step, let's take a look at example number 4.72. We want to express this as a fraction, 72 over 100. Why? Because you read this as 72 or 72 hundredths, because 2 is in the hundreds place, and that's why the fraction is 72 over 100. Okay, and if you want to, after you express this as a fraction, you now multiply it by 100, which is 72%. Okay, so since the denominator is already 100, remember a percent will have a denominator of 100. And since the denominator of this one is 100, 72, you simply get 72 and make it into a percent. Another way of doing this is opposite to the tip that I gave you. Okay, instead of, since the decimal now is 0.72, let me write that. Okay, instead of moving 2 spaces to the left, when you're multiplying by 100, you move it 2 spaces to the right. And that's the reason why you have now 72, which is the same as 72%. And after that, you simply put the percent sign. Okay? Take a look at this one. 0.257. Okay? We want to express this as a percent. 0.257 since 7. If you want to read this in words, this is 257 thousandths because 7 is in the thousandths place. Therefore, as a fraction, this is 257 over 1,000. Okay, and then if we divide the numerator and denominator by 10, that the denominator will become 100. So if you divide both of them by 10 by 1, okay, it will end up with 2.25.7 over 100. Now we made it into 100, our denominator. So since the denominator is 100, 25.7 can simply be put into a percent. So 0.257, okay, expressed as a fraction, expressed as a percent is 25.7%. And again, going back to what I told you about the shortcut, you have 0.257. And again, you want to make this into a percent. All you need to do is simply move that decimal 2 spaces to the right, which is there. Okay, and that's the reason why this is 25.7%. And this obviously is a better method of converting a decimal into a percent. Okay, and the secret word for this particular lesson would be robbers. The secret word for this lesson would be robbers. And that's our lesson. Thank you for watching.